The last
Hello?
light in the federal courthouse
Somebody
at
help me.
9:04 p.m. on a Thursday was on the
breathing.
4th floor. Elias noticed it the way he noticed everything in that building. Not quickly, not dramatically. Just with the steady attention of a man who had walked the same floors for 14 years and knew what belonged and what did not. He had already cleared the second and third floors. The building was his at this hour. The security desk was staffed by a single overnight officer 3 floors below, half watching a monitor, and the cleaning crew had finished and left at 8. Elias stayed late on Thursdays because the 4th floor hallway sconces needed to be wiped down individually, a task the younger crew members found tedious and skipped, and he had never once in 14 years skipped a task because he found it tedious. The light was coming from chambers 412, Judge Harmon's office. He had passed her door at 7:45 and heard her inside, the low sound of pages turning, the occasional click of a keyboard. She worked late on Thursdays. He had learned her rhythms without intending to, the way you learn the rhythms of any place you tend with care. He pushed his cart past her door and did not knock. He had never once knocked on a judge's door. He was at the end of the hall collecting the last of the wastebaskets from outside the courtroom alcove when he heard the sound. It was not a cry. It was not a crash. It was smaller than either, a single, dull impact. The sound a body makes when it meets a floor without catching itself, followed by silence of a specific kind. The kind that is too complete. The kind that means whatever made the sound is not getting up. Elias set down the wastebasket. He walked back down the hall. He pushed open the door to chambers 412 without knocking. Judge Claire Harmon was on the floor behind her desk, on her side, one arm extended. Her dark auburn hair had fallen across her face. She was breathing. He could see the shallow rise of her chest, but her eyes were half open and unfocused, and the color of her lips was wrong. Not blue, not yet, but heading somewhere. Elias had seen a man have a cardiac event once before, 31 years ago, on a loading dock at a warehouse outside the city, before the courthouse, before the second chance. He had not known what it was then. He knew what it looked like now. He was already on his knees beside her, 2 fingers at her neck, when he pulled his phone from his pocket. Before we continue, if you believe that what a man carries inside him has nothing to do with the uniform he wears when you meet him, please like this video, subscribe to Still Waters Stories, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. Her pulse was there. Irregular. He could feel it stuttering under his fingertips, the way an engine stutters when something in its timing has gone wrong. Her breathing was shallow but present. Her eyes did not track him when he moved. He dialed 911. The dispatcher answered in 2 rings. He told her what he had. A woman, late 30s, federal courthouse 4th floor, unresponsive, breathing but pulse irregular, no visible injury, no impact other than the fall. He gave her the address without being asked. He gave her the floor and the room number without being asked. He had memorized both the building's address and its interior room structure years ago, not for any particular reason, only because he memorized the details of places he was responsible for. The dispatcher told him help was 5 minutes away. She asked if he had any first aid training. He said he had taken a CPR recertification course through the building's facilities management program 18 months ago. Required for all maintenance staff. He had passed. She told him to monitor the pulse and breathing and told him what changes to watch for. He listened. He did not put the phone down. He kept 2 fingers at the judge's neck and the phone on speaker beside him on the floor, and he talked to the dispatcher and watched Claire Harmon breathe and counted the seconds between the irregular beats of her heart and reported what he felt with the same steady precision he used for everything else. She moved once, a small, involuntary movement of her right hand, fingers curling against the floor. He put his free hand over hers. Not performing comfort, just presence. The particular presence of a person who has learned that sometimes the only thing you can offer is that you are still there. She did not regain consciousness before the paramedics arrived. What he did not tell the dispatcher, and would not tell anyone for some time, was that he had stood in a room very much like this one 38 years ago. Not Chambers 412, a courtroom 2 floors below, a different building entirely, a different city, a different life. He had been 33 years old, and he had stood before a judge not unlike the woman now breathing shallowly under his watch. And that judge had looked at him across a courtroom and said something that had rearranged the rest of his life. She had said, "I believe you are more than the worst thing you have done, and I am going to give you the opportunity to show me I am right." He had spent 38 years trying to show her she was right. She had never known his name. He had never told anyone what she said. He had simply, quietly, daily, without announcement, tried to deserve it. The paramedics arrived in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. He had been counting. Paramedic Rosa came through the door first. She took in the scene in 2 seconds. The woman on the floor, the old man kneeling beside her, 2 fingers still at her neck, phone on speaker, his eyes steady and his hands completely still. She moved to Claire's other side, and he gave her the handoff without being asked. Pulse irregular, rhythm stuttering approximately every 4th beat, breathing shallow at roughly 14 per minute. No loss of pulse at any point. Onset of unconsciousness estimated at 7 to 8 minutes ago, based on time of the sound and time of his arrival. Rosa looked at him over Claire's body. "You a medic?" she said. "Maintenance," he said. 14 years in the building. She held his gaze for a moment. Then she nodded, the specific nod of one professional acknowledging another, and turned her full attention to Claire. They stabilized her on the floor of Chambers 412. The arrhythmia was significant, but had not progressed to the point of cardiac arrest. The 4 minutes and 40 seconds, the pulse monitoring, the steady reporting, the hand over hers, had held the line. Elias stood and picked up his phone from the floor and put it in his pocket. He stepped back to give the team room. He stood against the wall with his hands at his sides and watched them work with the same quiet attention he brought to everything else in that building. He did not leave until they were ready to move her. He held the door. Claire Harmon regained full consciousness in the elevator. By the time they reached the ambulance, she was alert enough to ask where she was going and whether anyone had called her husband. She did not yet know what had happened in the 4 minutes and 40 seconds she could not account for. She found out 3 days later, when she was home and the immediate crisis had passed, and her husband sat beside her on the couch and told her what the paramedic had told him. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. She asked for the man's name. Her husband said he had written it down. Elias, the maintenance man, 14 years in the building. She said, "I want to thank him." Her husband said, "I figured you would." The meeting happened on a Tuesday morning, 2 weeks after she returned to the bench. She asked her clerk to find out what time Elias typically arrived and made sure she was in the building early enough to be in the 4th floor hallway when he came through with his cart. He saw her from the end of the corridor. She was standing in the hall in her civilian clothes. The judicial robe was still in Chambers, dark auburn hair down, the same green eyes he had watched for 4 minutes and 40 seconds on a Thursday night. She looked different standing, steadier. He pushed the cart toward her. He did not hurry. She did not move toward him. She waited until he was close enough that they did not have to raise their voices. She said, "I understand you stayed with me." He said, "I was the only one there." She said, "You didn't have to do what you did. You could have called and waited outside." He said, "No, I couldn't have." She looked at him for a moment. The hallway was empty. The building had not yet filled. She said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" He thought about it. Not quickly. He considered it the way he considered all things, with patience and without performance. He said, "There's a young man I know, 22 years old. He made a mistake 3 years ago, nothing violent. He has been trying to show it was a mistake ever since. He has a hearing in 6 weeks. I am not asking you to decide anything. I am asking you to see him clearly when he stands in front of you." She was still for a moment. She said, "I always try to see people clearly." He said, "I know. That's why I'm asking." She extended her hand. He shook it, his large, worn hand around her smaller one, the handshake of two people who had just understood something about each other that neither of them would say out loud. He picked up the handle of his cart. He moved down the hall. She watched him go. She went back to her chambers and sat at her desk for a while before opening anything. The floor was clean. The hallway outside her door was quiet. She had been in this building for 4 years, and she had never once learned the name of the man who tended it. She would not make that mistake again. 6 weeks later, a 22-year-old man stood in her courtroom. She looked at him across the room the way a judge looks at a person when she has decided, before they speak, to see them clearly. He had a lawyer who was underprepared. He had a record that was thin and 3 years old. He had a letter of support from his employer and 2 from community members and 1, handwritten on plain paper, from a 71-year-old maintenance worker who had known him since he was 11. She read that letter carefully. She thought about a courtroom 38 years ago, a different city, a different judge. A man of 33 who had been told he was more than the worst thing he had done. She thought about 4 minutes and 40 seconds on a Thursday night. A hand placed over hers, a pulse counted and reported with complete, quiet precision. She made her ruling. She did not explain it in terms of Elias. She did not need to. She explained it in terms of the law and the record and the evidence before her, which was what her role required. But when the young man walked out of her courtroom with something intact that might otherwise have been taken, she knew what thread had led from there to here. It was 14 years of clean floors. It was a hand placed over hers in the dark. It was a man who had been given a sentence of grace 38 years ago and had spent every day since then trying to pass it forward. Elias was not in the courtroom. He was on the 4th floor with his cart, working through the hallway sconces the way he did every Thursday. He did not learn the outcome of the hearing until the young man called him that evening. He listened. He said very little. When the call ended, he sat in the small apartment he had lived in for 11 years and was quiet for a long time. Then he got up and made himself dinner and went to bed early because he had to be at the building by 6. The floors did not clean themselves. They never had. That was the whole point. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Stillwater's Stories for more stories of courage, grace, and the quiet human moments that carry more weight than anyone knew. And tell us in the comments, is there someone in your life who carries more than they ever let on?